God, what a noise it is in Monday morning. Is that normal in Gothenburg?
No, usually I've never witnessed a rave on a Monday morning.
I heard it is a dangerous city, is it?
No, it's not. It's
No?
not.
Okay.
Are we here yet?
I think we found a perfect parking spot.
Yeah. Well, let's get out.
Yeah,
then.
let's get out. Wow.
Welcome to Gothenburg.
Wow. Welcome, everyone.
Um,
Wow, yeah. Look at him. Perfect spot. You
Perfect
parked
spot.
it.
Perfect spot.
Good
In my
car, by the way.
hometown. Do you know how to pronounce Gothenburg? På riktigt.
Göteborg?
Göteborg.
Göteborg.
Yeah, Göteborg.
Göteborg.
As Dutch, we sort of struggle pronouncing the name. We say Gothenburg or Gothenburg, but it's Göteborg.
Göteborg.
Yes? So for everybody, it's Göteborg.
Göteborg.
You might
And
wonder...
you eat kanellenbollen in Göteborg. That's it, huh?
Sort of, yeah. You'll get into it. You might wonder why there's two Dutch people hosting this event, and that actually makes much more sense than you would expect, because it was the Dutch that built this city. Really. Nobody knows it. Even Swedish people don't know this, so I try to teach them.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. It was a rather swampy area here, and the Scandinavians, of course, are used to build on rocks. So who are you going to call? The Dutch, of course, because we can build in swampy areas. So this is a sort of a Dutch capital of Scandinavia, you could say. Now that I introduced our nationality, maybe it's good to introduce ourselves. Who are you, Ellen?
Well, my name is Ellen Hiep, and I'm from Holland, of course, from the Netherlands. And I'm active in the Dutch EV Drivers Association, which is a sort of association that really comes in for the interests of the EV drivers, but also connected to a global EV alliance, and that is like 60 associations from 40 different countries. All EV drivers, and what is so important is that, you know, you as people, as policymakers, technicians, as academics, you can think of things, but it is like the proof is in eating the pudding. And we help with that. And there's people from Slovenia and Norway and Austria, all partners from the Global EV Alliance. So that's...
And it's a bit of a lobby organization. So
it's not lobby.
You're
It's
fighting
lobby.
for the rights of EV drivers.
Yeah. For example, if you talk about price transparency, what you pay for charging, it's always a difficult fight we have. Or talking about new options on the cars and how to drive if you go abroad. If you would like to go to Gothenburg, then where do I charge? How does it work?
You actually drove here, right?
Yeah.
With the EV.
Yeah, we drove with the whole column. Yeah, yeah.
It took you 3 days.
Yeah, it took us.
But
But
then,
not because
I mean,
of the charging.
No, okay.
We
Because
had
you took a
wonderful
scenic route.
meetings in Hamburg.
There's
and
also a
in
boat
Gothenburg.
going, you know.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who are you then?
Yeah, well, I'm sort of local. So I'm a Dutch journalist and media entrepreneur. But I live in Gothenburg because I fell in love, not with the city, but with a Swedish girl who happened to be a local oyster diver. Yeah,
She's famous, isn't she? A bit.
Blah. Not as famous as me.
Yeah.
But yes, people do recognize her
But
on the street.
he is famous in the Netherlands.
Yes,
He's a
I
very,
really am, yes.
Because
yes.
if he is like, you know, the Dutch are blunt, and he is like a very good journalist, but a very blunt Dutch
Even
journalist.
to Dutch standards, can you imagine how I'm perceived in Sweden?
Yeah.
So no, I ended up here. I'm a local, and you probably needed a local. So here I am. We're going to host this event. We're going to moderate. We're going to be in charge of panel conversations. And we're going to announce the first real speaker.
Yeah.
No, before.
Not yet.
No, we have the
he's so
Mentimeter.
blunt, he just goes on and
No. We need to
because we
introduce
want
we need to know where you are from. And you have a
Yeah.
tool to
Yeah.
find that out.
I'm going to explain. Because I want to... Did you all download the app? Because we want you to join this conversation. And if you downloaded the EVS app, you can do two things. You can ask questions that we as moderators also can take into the equation when we're talking here. And we also have got Mentimeter questions, just to know who you are and what you think, what your opinion is on things. So what I would like to ask Pierre and his team, this wonderful team of organizers, is maybe we can test it out, this Mentimeter. So if you would like to answer the question, which country are you from? We just want to know where, well, you are. We are from the Netherlands.
Probably majority Sweden.
I don't know. I hope
I
we
mean,
can...
it should be.
I don't know. Germany!
Germany.
Canada,
the
UK,
quickest.
yeah. And you know, the biggest is like the most people. So Germany is like very well presented. I was expecting the Netherlands to be bigger.
The Germans are just fast.
Yeah. Faster than with the cars.
They understand
Yeah,
how this works.
yeah, but you can. A lot of Europeans. I see some people from India as well. The US. Oh yeah, Australia. Oh my God, it's so good that you're here. So, you know, it's good to know because we're a worldwide organization. And Sander asked me, how did I drive here? And I want to ask you as well. So let's go to the next question. How did you come here? Did you come here, fly in, come by EV, by bike? How did you get here?
By a bike, of course, I'm Dutch.
Yeah.
I bike.
Do people bike a lot here?
No, very, very little.
Okay.
They have something called A-tractorer, which I hate. It's the dumbest thing.
Why?
Yeah, if you're 15, you can buy a car and put this triangle on the back, and then you drive on the main road. So I'm lobbying against that here.
Oh, blunt lobbying.
Yeah. Here.
Oh, is that an agreement or is it?
Oh no, it's sacred.
But guys, 60% by plane. I understand if you come from Australia or the US, but we should next EVS we should try to lower that one. But well, you know, so much for talking now. It's a special time now, eh? You know, it's a changing world, so we need to set the narrative. So what we're gonna do in this next opening session, and maybe you can see the next slide, is what speakers there will be. So we will start off with our Secretary General of E-Mobility Europe. There will be some people from Volvo Group, Volvo Cars, Cherin, and of course our Swedish minister. But this is what we're going to get in this morning program until 10:30.
Yeah. Let's announce the first real speaker, Chris Herron, Secretary General of E-Mobility Europe.
Welcome, all of you, to EVS 38, here in Gothenburg. I'm Chris Herron, and I'm leading the charge for e-mobility at the European level as Secretary General for E-Mobility Europe. Now, I'd like to start by introducing you to someone who is at least as passionate about electric cars as I am. And I hope you too. This is Jasper, my first son. He just turned 6. As you can see, he likes to make electric cars and charging stations out of Lego. And the other day, Jasper asked me a question, as kids often do. Dad, why can't everyone just have an electric car now? Now, I don't know about you, but I find that children often see the world in simple terms, without the complexity that's lying often just beneath the surface. That said, I can't help but agree with Jasper's spirit. Bring on all the EVs. And in this increasingly turbulent world, we do need to step up and not step back. And that's the theme for our next 3 days together here at EVS 38. Stepping up with our electric vehicle ambition and action, and not stepping back. Now, in the course of my speech, I'm going to take you from the global to the European level and end with some clear calls to action to take forwards. And on a global level, my son Jasper has real reasons to be positive. We all do. We're standing here today with an unstoppable momentum building. How unstoppable? Well, in 2025, 1 in 4 cars sold globally will be electric. 1 in 4. As people in the room will know, in China, that number already goes up to 1 in 2. And as our Norwegian friends will tell us, Norway is already approaching 100%. 2025 is also seeing game-changing innovations, innovations which promise to remove any remaining doubt that electric vehicles are the technology of choice to carry us through the next decade and beyond. Charging stations that can fill up a car quicker than a petrol pump, batteries with a range of over 1,000 kilometers, and the promise of affordable vehicles for every pocket, both to buy and to run. So I think we can all agree the future of e-mobility is fast evolving, not just for cars, but for trucks, vans, buses, and more too. And I invite you to go and all and see, touch, and feel real-life examples of this at our expo space here at EVS 38. So clearly, at a global level, it's not just my Jasper who has strong reasons to be positive. We all have strong reasons to be positive, too. But let me also refocus that global picture and also bring in the challenges I mentioned. I mentioned before the complexity that a child's eyes can't see yet. Complexity like the global trade tensions that we've all been living through over the last weeks in our day-to-day lives, and which electric vehicles are one of the most visible symbols for right now. Tariffs, market distortions, uncertainty, a situation that risks destabilizing the very value chains that we are all working so hard to build together. And let's not forget another important factor too, people. People like you and me, our friends, our family, our colleagues, people who might want to buy an electric car but still need direction on how, who need clarity and reassurance. And also people who are living at the moment in this world of increasing misinformation and disinformation, especially about electric vehicles, in certain parts of our media. Another complexity, misinformation, confusion, quite apart from the obvious geopolitics, which we also need to deal with, and thoughtfully. So I do find it hard to explain this world of complexity to my son, Jasper. Geopolitics, trade, misinformation, and confusion. Because we're all standing here today in 2025 in a world that's equal parts inspiring and challenging at the same time. And we're also standing here, all of us, with a choice to make. A choice about whether we let ourselves be overwhelmed by those challenges, or if we step up together to seize the opportunities. I think you know my view on this question. We have to step up, not step back. Stepping up is exactly what the younger generations expect of us. But more than that, stepping up is exactly what we need to do to stand up globally in the long term. Now, I'd like to just boil that down into one simple, single question, which above all, I hope that EVS 38 will be able to answer for all of us as we move forwards. We all, to make sure that we can step up, not step back. We all know that to be successful, the mass electrification of our transport system has to deliver, not only for the climate and the environment, but for the socioeconomic side too, for jobs, security, for wider prosperity, and not just concentrated in single certain parts of the world, but spread out equally across all regions. And that's a guiding question for me at EVS now. How can we make sure we deliver all the value of electric vehicles across all the regions that need them? And to start answering that question, I'll take my optic from the global to the European perspective in the second phase of this speech. And at a European level, today, we're also at a crossroads that could legitimately see us step up or step back by the end of next year. On the one hand, electric vehicles are becoming progressively more mainstream. This year, we've seen a 30% year-to-date sales growth for electric cars across the continent. We've seen the first green shoots of growth in an otherwise challenging electric trucks market. And critically, no fewer than 14 affordable electric car models being launched into Europe under the €25,000 price point. 14. This new wave of affordable European-made electric cars makes me genuinely excited about our continent's future. At the same time, we have to be honest. Despite these clear steps forwards, Europe is still lagging behind in key areas with challenges to address. Like other regions, we lag behind China in key areas. Key areas like our battery technology, our electric vehicle technology and production, and more. And our data partner, S&P Global, have released a new white paper at this year's EVS, which makes this gap abundantly clear, and which I invite you all to read. Our sales are also too inconsistent across the continent, from north to south and from east to west. And as all of the company leaders in the room will know, we're still missing key parts of the policy puzzle, especially the strong EU-wide industrial policy that our companies need to compete with those getting big support from other regions and other parts of the world. And it's in this context that the voices are growing, questioning Europe's direction of travel on e-mobility, with a real significant risk of a dilution of ambition for the targets that we've set ourselves for 2035 and beyond. Let's be clear, the next 12 months will be absolutely critical to making sure that these ambitions remain in place. And I've mentioned to you already that I find the world of complexity hard to explain to my son Jasper. But what I do know without any shadow of a doubt is that there's no scenario where we can step back now and still seize the real long-term global leadership we need to in e-mobility as we go forwards. We have to stay the course and step up. Before I move away from the European level, I just want to give a quick point of comparison. I've mentioned the global headwinds that we're facing here in Europe, but at the same time, despite these headwinds, we do have a clear example of what can be achieved if we do step up and not step back. Where is it? Well, we're sitting on it. It's here. It's Gothenburg. Let me just take you back to the end of last year, where I was sitting in my office having just taken up the leadership position at eMobility Europe. I asked my team a question: where is EVS being held next year? Gothenburg, they answered. And a little smile lit up my face. Why? Because I know that Gothenburg has been a world automotive leader for across the last century, setting new standards of safety and technology. Because I know that Gothenburg is a city committed to electrification at all levels. And because I know that Gothenburg is a city of real resilience too, working through the challenges of the energy transition we're all facing. More than anything, in my last year working with Gothenburg, I've seen a city of real shared responsibility. A city where industry, politicians, and people are working together towards one clear vision for e-mobility and electrification. And for me, it's all of Europe, all of the world that needs to take this example of shared responsibility and really step up. Because it's only by staying the course and stepping up that we can make sure we do deliver all of the values of electric vehicles here in Europe. Now, I know maybe some people in the room are thinking, okay, Chris, that's a great vision, but we all know that the challenge is not having a vision, but actually making that vision happen. So how can we make this a reality? Well, let me talk about how. For me, successfully stepping up means more than anything this shared responsibility. That means our vehicle manufacturers continuing to step up in their delivery of affordable, sustainable vehicles ready to compete across the globe. It means our batteries, charging, and technology companies stepping up to create the surrounding ecosystem for these vehicles to thrive in. But it also means our politicians stepping up, much more than today at both EU and national level, to create the strong policy foundations for all of these ecosystems to compete and grow. And here we need not just action plans, but real tangible actions and conviction. What I'd like to do now is just leave with you 4 key policy areas which I hope EVS 38 will help to answer and resolve. The first is certainty. Investment follows clear, stable targets. We need our clear, stable targets to remain in place to stay on course globally. There can be no room for a dilution of ambition. But 2, we also need smarter demand incentives. Smarter demand incentives that help to reduce the upfront cost for purchase of cars, vans, and trucks, especially in this scale-up phase, and across all EU member states. 3, EU-level financial support. Here, Europe is running a race with both legs tied together, while our competitors have their legs free. This isn't sustainable. Especially in areas like batteries, we need stronger financial support to help our champions thrive and grow. And 4, fit-for-purpose grids enabled by flexibility. We need to make sure that our electric cars, vans, and trucks can charge when and where we need them. And we know that today's grid is not equipped, is not fit for purpose in all areas. With investment cycles running for multiple decades and more, there's no time to waste. But overall, I hope it's clear from my speech that I am optimistic at heart, but still, I hope pragmatic. I genuinely believe that there's so much we can achieve together. At the same time, I have no illusions about what needs to happen to get that done. But I am optimistic. I'm optimistic that if we can make tangible progress across these 4 areas on time and effectively, then we can succeed in delivering all of the economic value of electric vehicles to all of Europe. And I hope that other parts of the world will be equally decisive in stepping up too. And now I'd just like to take 1 more minute of your time to wrap up my speech. I'm going to do so by going back to my 6-year-old son, Jasper. And the question he asked me, I shared to you at the start of my speech. Dad, why can't everyone just have an electric vehicle now? Now, I answer that question with a mixture of optimism and pragmatism. My Jasper still has the idealism of every child. But I hope there's one thing that him and I and all of you can agree on. And that's that right now there are some real reasons to be positive. Positive that the word electric and the words car, van, bus, and truck will be inseparable not too long from now. And now a challenge for all of us across the next 3 days at EVS 38. A challenge to work together to chart that path forwards, work out how and what we need to do to face up to the world's complexities and make sure we are delivering the value of electric vehicles everywhere that need them. Then I can go back home on Wednesday to Brussels and give some reassurance to my son Jasper. Rest assured, son, the electric vehicles are coming and we are all stepping up together and not stepping back. Thank you.
Oh, I love this, Chris. This stepping up. And you know what I was thinking? We're all doing this together. So for Jasper and all your own kids, let's step up. I really like it. Well, if you talk Sweden, I know how to pronounce Göteborg. If you talk Sweden, you say Volvo. It's a great car. It's a great company. And then there's Volvo Group and there's Volvo Cars. And those are actually 2 different companies working under the same brand. And that's why we have 2 different speakers here. So the Volvo Group is about trucks, buses, constructions, big things. And Volvo Cars, they really produce those beautiful things that are here on stage. So our next speaker is the Chief Technology Officer of Volvo Group. So please give a warm applause for Lars Enquist.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to Göteborg, the birthplace of and hometown of Volvo, and I also dare to say Gothenburg, one of the most vibrant automotive clusters in Europe. It's an honor to be part of hosting this prestigious event, Electric Vehicle Symposium, for the first time in Sweden. And it's fantastic to see all of you, true believers in electric vehicle technology, in innovation, believers as we are. Volvo Group, we are one of the dominant global players when it comes to trucks, buses, construction equipment and drivelines for marine and industrial purposes. We serve our customers in 180 countries. So it's rather simple. If you forget Russia, you forget North Korea, the rest, we're there. 100,000 colleagues across the globe, truly global company. Since we started operations here in Gothenburg almost 100 years ago, 1927, we have been working hard on driving progress, developing technology for the benefit of people and society. And if you think about it, transportation and logistics, they are simply the lifeblood of society. We as a company, we are firm believers in more transport globally going forward, but we are the first ones stating that transport must be within the boundaries of what the planet can cope with. At Volvo Group, we use technology to innovate, to transform the very foundation of the transportation industry. And with our scale, when we are doing something, it really matters. This is the biggest transformation ever in our industry. We are on a journey, and where we are going, we believe that the majority of our vehicles will be electric. There will be vehicles also in the long run with combustion engines running on renewables, but the absolute majority of the vehicles will be electric. We have been early out. We are seen as pioneers across the globe when it comes to electric vehicles. We are market leaders in Europe and North America. We have a wide offering, as you can see here, of battery electric vehicles for trucks, buses, construction equipment. And this is far beyond any kind of demo or pilot programs. This is serial production. Take Volvo Trucks, one of our brands, as an example. To date, Volvo Trucks has delivered more than 5,000 trucks to 50 different countries. And make no mistakes now, 5,000 trucks may sound rather limited. But compared to passenger cars, trucks are used. So these 5,000 trucks, they have so far clocked 170 million kilometers or 4,000 laps around the globe. By that, they have reduced CO2 emissions with 125,000 tons CO2. Volvo Group is currently leading the market for heavy-duty electric trucks in North America with a market share of 40%. Volvo Trucks and Mack Trucks combined, our two brands. In Europe, we are leading the market with a combined market share of 60% for electric trucks, Volvo Trucks and Renault Trucks combined. However, in the long run, we do not believe that it is sufficient with only battery electric vehicles. We are also investing and developing fuel cell electric vehicles. And we have the ambition to have production going in low volumes in the end of this decade. We started testing our first fuel cell trucks in 2022, and we are now gradually developing, maturing the technology. The image behind me is from one of our winter expeditions up in the northern part of Sweden, testing the vehicles in extreme climate conditions. These trucks will be perfect for long-haul operations and where there is limited access to or time for battery charging. The benefits of fuel cells are many. You are not dependent on the grid capacity. You have very high conversion efficiency of the hydrogen. You have long range, really good payload, quick refueling, and the only emission, you see it on a photo behind me, there is emission. Water vapor, the white smoke. As you have understood, Volvo and other truck OEMs, we are pumping in billions in research and development into these technologies. Billions to develop zero-emission vehicles, but the uptake is too slow. This is a problem. The widespread adoption of electric vehicles is dependent on several key enablers. We normally illustrate it as a formula, an equation, with, as you see, charging infrastructure and access to green energy. They are paramount. Vehicles, you can see to the left, they are there. We need to make sure that we have total cost of ownership. We need to have a good supply network. Infrastructure and fossil-free energy is paramount. You can see that the formula is a multiplication. And that means that if one of the key enablers is zero, the uptake will be zero. The success of a climate-neutral transition cannot depend only on the vehicle manufacturers. Collaboration across the value chain is essential to accelerate the progress. So what is then needed? a forward-looking framework with more public-private partnerships, balanced policies, incentives, shared risk-takings, and investments in infrastructure. It must become profitable for transporters to operate zero-emission vehicles, much more profitable than operating fossil-driven vehicles. The Electric Vehicle Symposium serves as a decisive platform for collaboration where connections can be made between industry leaders, between academia and policymakers in order to move beyond words and go into action. I hope we will look back at the EVS 38 in Gothenburg as the moment when we truly accelerated, when we committed to driving the necessary transformation of transportation. With that, once again, a warm welcome to the home of Volvo. Together, we all are shaping the world we want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars, for hosting this.
Gaan we
It's
het in
wonderful.
Nederlands doen of?
We gaan het in Nederlands. Who doesn't speak Dutch? No, I think we better do it in English then. But he lives in the Netherlands. I'm sorry to bother you about all those Dutch things, because we even have a Dutch room here at EVS. And now we stop talking Dutch. We're going to talk business. Evie. Let's start with the bigger picture. Why is working together across the supply chain so important?
This is the first time that we are talking about something that is not a technology shift. It is a true, you can say it's a system shift or even a societal shift or a transformation. And we see it very clearly. We are early out, but the rest of the equation is hardly not present. So that means that this is the time where you really need to work in the full value chain. For us, for example, downstreams, it's not enough to work with our customers. We need to work with our customers' customers, meaning the transport buyers, the IKEAs, the Walmarts, those ones really then putting the demand signal to sustainable transport.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a big company, so dominant maybe. What are the hurdles? How do you really work together with all those parts of the supply chain?
No, it is really then to open up and show that you are really open for partnership. And partnership is something completely different compared to more transactional relations.
Yeah. Because you work together with Milans?
Milans is a joint venture that we started then in the charging business. And we started a joint venture together with two of the main competitors. And we normally do not work with competitors if you go back decades. But starting a joint venture with two of our main competitors, Daimler Trucks and Traton, in order to get started in the build-out of charging infrastructure in Europe. We don't have the ambition to get any kind of monopoly when it comes to charging of commercial vehicles. But we saw clearly that we were in a catch-22 situation. No vehicles on the road, no one wants to invest in charging. No charging available, no one wants to invest in any vehicles. So we decided to kick it off, and now we are rolling out charging infrastructure alongside the big corridors across Europe then. And I dare to say that we have also challenged a few other investors to start doing the same, but still it goes too slow.
It goes too slow, I know. Well, to be honest, we were driving here all the way. 3 years ago, we went to EVS in Norway with this caravan, and it was a sort of a charging desert. It was really difficult. But now we're in heaven. I mean, it's amazing.
Course, it's good. Yeah.
But also, I could see the startups of all the truck, the MC chargers.
Definitely. Yeah. So we are. Is the glass half full or half empty? It's half full because there are almost 1,000 chargers across Europe now for trucks. Yeah. By 2030, we need 40,000.
Yeah, but we can be positive. But for example, grid congestion, that's an issue. When it comes to heavy-duty charging, how do you see this whole grid congestion issue? How do you cope with it?
That's part of why we need to team up with the big players. We are teaming up with the big energy companies, with the utility companies, because we see that this is much more than just plug and play. Yeah. We see also when it comes to lead times for permissions, it takes forever in some countries. So our politicians can also help here. And there are a lot of interest in investing, but you need to team up and work together.
Yeah, okay. but it's a difficult problem. But no, you're a global player, and there's people from everywhere here.
I saw that on the grid.
Yeah. And how do you tackle then the challenge of rolling out electric trucks to places, not in the US, EU, or China?
No,
How do you-
and I dare to say then, even though this is a focused EV event then, we are super serious in decarbonizing road transport. And as I said, it's better electric, it's fuel cell electric, but it's also then combustion engines running on renewables. Will also be important also in the long run. And we will see different regions go in different directions. In some areas it will be pure better electric, and that will be the sweet spot. Another region, India for example, I'm convinced that you will see much more of hydrogen, much more. Why? Because they don't have the grid capacity. But they have a lot of sun. So they will produce a lot of electric energy, convert it to hydrogen and distribute the hydrogen. So you will see different flavors across the globe. And as we are a global player, we will have solutions for all kind of needs, for all kind of regions.
May I thank you for this wonderful speech, wonderful introduction, and I hope if you want to speak to him, I could see, some people have asked questions. I haven't asked them to him yet, but you can do that during the break because he will be here.
I will be here.
Give a loud applause for Lars. Thank you so much. And now we're going to go to the other part of Volvo, which is Volvo Cars. And I would love to get Anders Bell on stage. Anders is the Chief Engineering and Technology Officer at Volvo Cars. He's the driving force behind Volvo's push into the world of software-defined vehicles, combining cutting-edge technology, AI, whatever, to shape those wonderful cars. So please welcome Anders Bell.
Hey, good morning. I really love the nightclub vibe we have going on in here. Hard to follow Lars here. This was a really great speech, but since I did follow Lars now, I'm gonna make a promise. Like, we have very big ambitions at Volvo Cars. One day Volvo Cars will be the biggest Volvo branded company in the city of Gothenburg. That's a promise. It's a pleasure to be invited here to this opening ceremony. I can't think of a better location to host an event on mobility, electrification, and sustainability. Because where better to lead the charge than in a city already miles ahead, which has been recognized as the most sustainable destination, not once, but 7 times. As a global hub for clean innovation, Gothenburg is home to pioneering electric mobility solutions, circular economy champions, and a national grid largely powered by renewables. Volvo Cars plays a key part in driving this innovation. Not many realize that we are also now one of the largest software companies in the Nordics. Gothenburg is also home to Zenseact, our subsidiary, one of Scandinavia's leading AI outfits. Here we deploy tip-of-the-spear AI models where it matters the most to save lives. We also invest heavily in this region. It's one of the reasons we develop all our passive and active safety technology here in the city of Gothenburg. It's also here we have chosen to amplify our capacity in software testing globally with our new state-of-the-art software test center. We have a new climate wind tunnel just commissioning now, specifically for electric vehicles. We're making significant investments in battery, power electronics, charging, and megacasting. This is all along with our advanced e-motor development, coupled with in-house manufacturing in Floby, just 90 minutes drive from here. With a culture that embraces sustainable living and a track record of industry collaboration, Gothenburg is not just talking about the future, it's accelerating it. That's why when we heard that EVS was coming to Gothenburg, we jumped at the opportunity to share our story with you and to showcase the work that's happening behind the scenes. It's an exciting time for us at Volvo Cars. We're in the middle of a fundamental technology transition, during which we will leave behind the products defined by combustion engines and move to cars fully defined by software and energy. Our battery electric vehicles are an important step towards a more sustainable society and addressing climate change. But it's not just about eliminating tailpipe emissions. The software and energy-defined car is a superior product. It can improve quality of life by offering cleaner, safer, and more efficient mobility. It's designed to enhance energy independence and security by powering homes, supporting the grid through vehicle-to-grid systems, and complementing energy renewable sources. This is why policymakers must stay the course on supporting electrification. It's so much more than just a new powertrain. It's about transforming the car from an isolated object roaming the world to a resource which is fully integrated into general society and everyday life from grid to cloud. Thanks to the power of software, we can now improve our cars over time. Let me break down the phrase software-defined vehicle a bit. It's an often overused phrase which has become a bit of a buzzword in the industry. It's used broadly to describe any car with over-the-air updates or connected services such as infotainment improvements. But for Volvo Cars, the software-defined vehicle holds a particularly transformational power. It allows us to fully understand the complexities of the real world. It provides us with actionable insights on how we can make cars better for our customers, for road safety, for cities, and for the planet. It unlocks the ability for us to raise the bar on safety and to elevate quality of life for our drivers by rolling out advanced features. We can now use software to change the performance of our vehicles, whether that's improving battery range, unlocking faster charging, delivering world-first audio experiences, or crucially for us, rolling out safety features. Thanks to software, we can create cars globally for regional audiences. Software-defined vehicles gives us a powerful edge. They allow us to tailor features, interfaces, and even driving experiences for regional tastes. This agility means that a single tech stack can feel local in Tokyo, trendy in Berlin, and family-friendly in Texas, all without retooling a factory. That's not just smart, it's scalable, efficient, innovative, and essential in a world that demands personalization at global scale. This is a game changer for us. It allows us to adapt in a fast-moving world where the only constant is change. So here at EVS, our team will be on site. We will be hosting media interviews, meeting policymakers, debating with city planners, strengthening government relationships, and forming partnerships with those who share our values. You can think of our booth as a behind-the-scenes glance into the future of an all-electric software-defined vehicle. And we really encourage you to visit and see each of the zones. You will learn how a superset tech stack and core compute architecture help us raise the bar on safety, what a novel battery system might look like if you were to completely rethink it, how we are using virtual worlds and an advanced computational technique called Gaussian splatting to develop our safety software, why technology is such a catalyst for change when it comes to the driving sustainability efforts. You will also have the opportunity to experience the incredible sound system of the EX90 and take a look at Svenska Mässan through the lens of a LiDAR in the ES90. Parked outside the venue is a fleet of wirelessly charging EX40s. And throughout the week, there's a number of breakout sessions from our team, which I really encourage you to attend. And there's a particularly insightful session on Wednesday morning by Vanessa Butani, our head of global sustainability, which will focus on why society cannot allow electrification to fail. I hope I left you with a strong understanding of the future we're building and the key role new technologies play in getting us there. This is, of course, only possible thanks to three things. One, the incredible team at Volvo Cars, which I'm proud to be representing here today. Our crystal clear company purpose, to provide people with the freedom to move in a personal, sustainable, and safe way. This acts as our guiding star. You all here, to build a brighter future industry, industry collaboration is needed. This is why we're all here. I really encourage you to find a reason to speak to us and to engage with our teams on the ground so that we can make great things happen together. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much, Anders. What's on the T-shirt?
Oh, it's a secret.
But can you share?
A little
Nonetheless?
bit. So as I mentioned in my speech, all our future battery electric vehicles are built from a one superset tech stack, which is a bit of a tongue twister of a word. Basically meaning all our software-defined products is now coming from the same vehicle platform, propulsion and energy system roadmap, core compute and electronics roadmap, which is fueled everything on one software master. This is what we call the superset tech stack, which is really the underpinnings of the entire company.
Yeah.
Now,
I feel very stupid now, but yeah, continue. Yeah.
Together with that, as I usually say, there's only really three things we need to be super good at as an engineering community going forward. It's energy, matter, and code.
That's on the shirt.
That's the three, but it
Yes.
also has a secret hidden meaning.
EMC.
So this is a tech stack, right? Always the three layers.
Yeah.
This is a superset, but it's flipped, and this is a three, which is our SPA3 architecture, which is launching next year with the EX60, which is the whole superset tech stack first vehicle out, or actually third, but details.
Cool. Good to know. Can we buy the
So when
shirts?
no, you cannot.
Oh,
Absolutely
okay.
not. So don't tell anybody what the secret meaning is. But you will see our teams out here. Some of them will be wearing this T-shirt, so at least then you know who they are and feel free to engage.
Okay. Now, a business question.
Yes.
We all read about the recent structural changes at Volvo. Are you afraid, or do you think that will impact your EV mission?
No, not really. I think we are still on a steadfast mission to convert and leave the combustion-defined product behind us and go all in on the software and energy-defined car.
Yeah.
We just, as pretty much as Lars said as well before me, we need to keep on pushing, being ahead of the curve for sure, and be very progressive. But at the same time, adoption takes different times in different parts of the world. We see very different regionalization in US compared to Europe, compared to China, and also, as also mentioned previously, the adoption rate also inside Europe, east to west, north to south. So we are there. We need to make sure we offer better and better products that can drive adaptation of electric vehicles.
So we don't need to worry about your mission.
No, we don't need to worry about the mission.
Thank you so much. Anders,
Thank
one
you.
more round of applause, please. So from Volvo, we now move to the science, where it all starts, of course. We'll introduce somebody from the most famous research institute and innovation partner here in Sweden. Her name is Malin Frenning, and she's the CEO of RISE. Give her a warm welcome.
Every innovation starts with an idea, but far from all ideas end up as innovations. RISE is Sweden's research institute, a key catalyst for innovation and industrial renewal. We are your partner, your R&D department, your project manager. RISE is the time you don't have, the evidence your customers demand, your solutions for tomorrow. It's market entry and full speed ahead. More prosperity with a smaller footprint. For real.
Thank you, dear guests. What a pleasure to be here, not only with you, but here in Gothenburg, of course. We at RISE, the Research Institute of Sweden, we have an inspiring mission. We turn ideas into reality, and we go all the way from the drawing table, through the factory, and of course, together with our clients, the industry, to the market. At RISE, our job is to strengthen competitiveness. And we do that together with the Swedish and European business, industry, and make society, of course, stronger, more resilient, and more sustainable. We are more than 3,300 researchers here in Sweden, and we are located in 35 locations. And in Europe, we are number 4 as the largest research institute. We have over 100 test and demo facilities offering a unique research and development possibility all around the country as well. Last year, we started 600 new research projects. We have more than 13,000 customers, clients, and right now approximately 2,700 ongoing research projects. And these numbers show that we at RISE, we are a significant player here in the Swedish innovation system. Now, our focus here during the EVS 38 is, of course, the electrification of the transport sector. And all of us that are here, not only at RISE, but also you, we are here to drive this change. And we are all here to make a difference. That's why I go to work. When I talk to the researchers and experts at RISE about the future of or for the electric vehicles, they are both optimistic, but of course we also see some challenges. We see the need of an increased efficiency in battery production, but also we see an overcapacity in production of batteries globally, meaning that there will be plenty of batteries available, which will of course then drive price down and increase sales. Could be good, also some challenges. But at the same time, we see challenges from a Swedish and European perspective, and we need to step up. Someone said that before today, stepping up. And production needs to be more effective, and we need to secure supply chains of critical materials. Therefore, I'm very happy to say that RISE is a vital part of the research within the battery value chain. And I hope that you will get a chance to listen to a few of my colleagues, to some of our presentations during the EVS 38, and also, of course, visit our booth. We aim to demonstrate how cross-disciplinary research can drive scalable solutions for tomorrow's electrified society. Today, I would like to highlight RISE test and demo facilities within transportation and electrification. We have the world-leading sites such as AstaZero, our EMC chambers, and the Cyber Test Lab, to mention a few. And of course, we have the Swedish Electric Transport Laboratory that we call SEAL. SEAL is a company half owned by RISE and half by the Chalmers Foundation, and is a vital part of the Swedish and European battery value chain, with facilities, of course, here in Gothenburg, Nykvarn outside Stockholm, Södertälje, and also Borås, which is a town very close to Gothenburg. At SEAL, we do energy storage testing, we do powertrain testing, and we do safety critical battery testing. And I will give you an example. At our battery safety lab, we can set an entire electrical vehicle on fire, causing a thermic rush, and that we do behind thick walls and with the state-of-art filtering of smoke and gases. You will not find many sites like this in the world, and I really like to mention that. And I think that Jasper would love to see that site as well, I'm sure. But the strongest advantage for RISE is that we work in all sectors. As Europe's 4th largest research institute, we are in the forefront of AI research, of quantum physics, of semiconductors, of maritime research, and of course also biotech, bioeconomy. We are heavily invested in the manufacturing industry and also the automotive sector. And of course, we do research in cybersecurity, drones, and to mention one more, agriculture sector. But my point is, our broad expertise contributes to our full strength. In our project, we can combine knowledge from all sciences. And we do not have to search far away for the competence. We have it here in Sweden, sitting next to us. So to sum all this up, in these days of geopolitical uncertainty, having strong institutions, that's more important than ever. And research and tech, advances is an important part of a democratic society. So it is an important part of society that believes that science and research can and make lives better. And again, that's why we go to work every day. And it is our task as the Swedish Research Institute to drive this transformation that will help business and society to become sustainable in all aspects of the world. So thank you, and again, welcome to Gothenburg.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have one question. We just introduced the problem of misinformation.
Yeah?
Does RISE have a role to play in countering misinformation, and how do you do that?
Yeah, we do some research regarding misinformation and how to treat that and how to really see what we can do. So we can talk about that later on. Misinformation is always an interesting topic.
Yeah, but I can imagine you as a scientific institute can play a role in debunking and do you also play a role in the public debate about it?
We do, and we work together with many of the Swedish authorities regarding this topic, both in Sweden but also following Swedish companies abroad and companies and authorities abroad to understand that. Good. So it's important.
We'll speak about it later.
Yeah, perfect.
One more round of applause, please. We'll move on from the science to an association that promotes standards in the field of charging systems. Please warm welcome for Mr. Klaas Braklo, chairman of Charin.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here and invited to have that speech at the early beginning of the EVS. EVS is very important for us as an association. Charin stands for the Charging Interface Initiative, founded 10 years ago with a group of leading visionaries in the world. The EVS itself fits perfectly to our global approach as Charin, to be a global association with the approach to create and distribute standards all over the world. And as EVS is traveling around the world, to Asia, to Europe, to US, that is a perfect fit for us. We started that experiment in 2019. That was EVS 32 in Stuttgart, and now we are at EVS 38. The seventh in a row of Charin representation. So what are we standing for? So our goal is to empower the next level of green mobility and energy. And that means much more than to operate a connector or specific technology. That is to bridge from our targets of a CO2-free mobility on the one hand to industry products. So as we are a pure industry association with the goal to collaborate, we heard that already from the friend of Volvo Group, collaboration is the key to care for the overarching architecture of a charging system. And I start to give you a short impression of what Charin is doing. goes back almost 10 years from today, and understanding there was a big disorientation on charging, on connecting systems. So we had Japanese style, we had French connectors, Italian ones, German ones, American ones. So that was the main target, to align the industry to make use of scaling factors and to care for customer satisfaction, to have one system for all kind of mobility, which is going from motorbikes on the lower end up to heavy trucks. And meanwhile, we are already in the field of the mining industry. And collecting the engineering knowledge of the world is one of our targets. And so again, it fits perfectly to the EVS format, where we have the brightness and smartness of the world of engineers and researchers together with the industry aspects in our exhibition. So what we are doing at the EVS is collecting our members, giving them the opportunity to show their products, and for the visitor is to understand how the value chain is organized within the process of charging. I'm waiting for the rest of the film. Coming back to our origin of Charin Association, so that is important to mention, it is still necessary to have that global industry collaboration, as we are facing to these international protectionism of individual countries, and some of them see an advantage of having individual systems, and that is completely contradictory to our approach to combine the knowledge of the world and the technology and make goods out of that to the benefit of the end customer. And that is potentially one of the biggest challenges of us, to keep our track of charging. So that is that group I mentioned of visionary leaders those time back. So we just have been nine people say, okay, let's found that association, and that was much before that time of mass industrialization of electric mobility. So we had the first products in the market. That was the Volkswagen e-Golf and the BMW i3. And what we identified as car industry, I'm with BMW. And the most interest is to have a global technology suitable for the global markets. And that is what drove us to work together, even if we are all in competition. And that is the interesting point to me. So the engineer is always interested in sharing technology, making it better, figuring out what can be done, and share experience from each other, because we are differentiating via our products and not via a charging connector. And as bigger the technology input on the system, the better the customer experience is at the end. So that was the early beginning, and meanwhile we are 19 members in our steering committee, as we identified the value chain of charging is much bigger than that portion of the inlet in the vehicle. And as you see with the logos of the involved companies, so we have charge point operators, we have energy industry, we have software, and that directly shows that our intention is going much further than to define the shape of a connector. What Charin did as a great success, and we can see that in our exhibition area, we came together so that was the early beginning in 2018, to define a system for truck transport. And so we were sitting together for one and a half year to collect international requirements for a suitable charging system for truck transport. And as Asia has different requirements to the US and different to Europe, that was a challenge to bring the industry together. And we targeted, if we can align as an industry, we can drive politics with the support of industry, because the interest of policy is always to enable markets for industry. In principle, if we are neglecting the current political situation. And that helped us to go with a predefined selection of requirements into standardization bodies. So that is how Charing grew. So in the early years, so we had just 12 members. And so we were all curious to identify, does it make sense to found that association, and is there any need in the market? So I would say from today's perspective, that is. So we are still growing, getting new members, and members are from different industries, from different regions of the world. So we include participation of startup companies to get new technology input into our association. And we have a lot of partnership and MOUs with the diverse associations. So like we have Berthe here, we have ELAT, or the Task 53 for bidirectional charging. That is always important to have these close links, that we are all speaking the same language and having all the same vision of the technology of the future. So that shows the value chain and the perspective, and so we are always aiming to have an equal share among the regions and between the different industries, so there is no dominance of any industry by the definition of the future systems. So that is just a logo show, but I like that because it starts on the upper left with ABB, so I call it from A to Z, from Switzerland, and it ends at the end with Zerova from Taiwan, and so that is our story. So we cover the spectrum from A to Z and on a global perspective. And I promised Ellen to be quick in my presentation, that she can ask one
because
of
that is the time. We are a bit in a
I've
frame,
seen
so
that, but
that's why I'm standing next to you.
I thank you for your attention, and so you are invited to our booth. A small hint for tonight. So we are celebrating a bit our 10 years anniversary over there, and happy to see some of you for having a drink.
Thank you so much, Klaas. Give him a big round of applause. Yeah, there's so much to talk about, so we are going to speed up a bit. I'm sorry, we promised you some questions, but we do that in the break.
Okay.
Well, we have some nice coffees and other things, so thank you very much.
Not just one?
No, we do that later on. Thank you so much, Klaas.
Bye.
Thank you so much. What we're going to do is, it's a bit, I'm blunt, you know, that's why they choose us. We're Dutch and we just, no matter. Yeah. What we have is the Global Airlines, I told you about it. These are the ones, you know, that are really doing the electrification of all your cars. So, show the movie.
Gas stations. Just like the dismantled refinery in the back, a thing of the past.
My EV is a responsible rebel, fun, quiet, and kind to the planet. And it's always up for a charge.
It perfectly fits my lifestyle. It's safe, fast, and precise.
A lot of torque, a lot of power, and it's very silent. I like it.
The best thing about EVs is that they are so much fun to drive.
I love driving an electric car.
It gives me maximal comfort and feel of freedom.
With that kind of vehicle, I can come here to the Alps with the use of clean, green energy.
There are moving batteries. They connect the car to the grid, grid can connect to the car.
Sun is shining right now, so I can charge up my car for free. And then, when the sun goes down, my vehicle can power up my house.
Es fährt mit Wind- und Sonnenenergie, ist sauber und leise. Und weil es außerdem so viel Spaß macht, habe ich mir gerade ein neues gekauft.
An EV not only means sheer driving pleasure, but the ability to have financial benefits.
It has no noise, no emissions, so that is great.
This is my dog Mimi, my car Kitty.
Best part? My little dog stays nice and cool in this car. High five, girl.
I changed because the EVs are so smooth to drive, and I would never go back to a fossil fuel car again.
And I will never more switch to fossil cars.
I will never go back to a fossil car.
Going back to a nice car? Definitely a no.
Because I want to stick to the future.
I'd like to welcome to the stage the president of e-mobility Europe. Give him a warm welcome, Maciej Mazur.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, friends of e-mobility, sometimes not having something is what makes you unique. So I'm going to be in the situation, I do not have any slides, I do not have any video, but I can promise you that my speech is going to be the shortest one. I was thinking my whole flight how to begin this speech, and let me start this way. Many of you know that when you are traveling across the United States and you're glancing at the side mirror, there is always this familiar warning. Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. And I cannot think of a better phrase to describe e-mobility in 2025. After 2024, which was probably one of the toughest moments for our sector, this year, and I believe we can say it with confidence right now, marks a true turning point. Over the next 3 days, you will hear a lot about latest registration figures, a lot about market forecasts. We have no doubt many of the previous records will not just be matched, they're gonna be broken. And what matters most is that we are proving one thing. E-mobility is much closer than it appears. This is not longer a niche market. This is a mass market counted in millions. That's why I'm especially proud that we are having this landmark edition of EVS here in Sweden, one of the true pioneers of the transport transition. I'm thrilled to see so many people here, and I hope we're gonna have chance to have a chat in the next 3 days. Let me tell you one thing, this event would not be possible without e-mobility Europe. We were founded in 1978, but I believe that right now we are entering a new chapter. Perhaps even we are enjoying a kind of a second youth. Over the past several months, we changed a lot. We changed our name, we changed our logo, we changed our leadership, but right now we are in a very, very good place. We are a driving force for change in a moment that we have to accelerate even further. Standing here today, I want to thank you, everyone, who made EVS 38 possible. Our great e-mobility Europe team. My colleagues from the board sitting all over the place. Our fantastic local partners. Our sponsors, and, of course, all the participants. I guarantee to you that it's going to be a short speech, so I've got right now to change my role and become a host, because I have an honor of inviting a special guest to the stage. Minister Andreas Carlsson, Minister for Infrastructure and Housing of Sweden. Thank you. This morning, actually, I realized that I've got a special connection to Sweden. Yeah? Not only the car I drive every day is Swedish, but as well all my suits are Swedish.
Wonderful.
It's really something big. Yeah? I was always admiring your developments and design, and right now I'm really admiring your role in e-mobility. So I'm super happy to be here, and thank you a lot for your support.
Thank you again, and we have really great shirts also if you want to, so we can
All right.
talk
I'll have
more
a
about
look.
clothes
Thanks
later
a
on.
lot.
But my pleasure is to welcome you all to Gothenburg, to Sweden. If you traveled in yesterday, I'm sorry if you were stuck in some kind of traffic jam over the Öresunds bridge between Copenhagen and Malmö, because I'm actually one of the 40,000 people that are responsible for that, because we had a half marathon from Copenhagen to Malmö yesterday to celebrate 25 years of this highly valued connection between Denmark and Sweden. This is a great example of how important infrastructure is for connecting people, for transportation. It's the backbone of our society for competitiveness, for preparedness, and for people to meet. That's why it's so important to speed up the decarbonization of transportation so we can continue with transports and at the same time reducing the emissions. So thank you all for coming here to Gothenburg, and welcome to Sweden, the land of opportunity. Sweden is one of the most innovative countries in the world. Our collaborative business environment, strong public-private partnership, and openness to the world are key factors for Sweden being innovative and for our investment climate. Sweden is an engineering country. Swedish engineers have for centuries belonged to the world elite, which has made it easier for society to advance. Swedish engineering skills has led to a series of transformative innovations. The automotive industry is of great importance to our economy. And as the Minister of Infrastructure, I'm so proud to say that in international comparison, Sweden is unique with only 10 million inhabitants, having several vehicle manufacturers, as you already met, Volvo Cars, Volvo Group, and Scania, with both production and research in our beautiful country. We have a vibrant ecosystem with manufacturers, suppliers, subcontractors, and so on, innovative and competitive. We also have a long-standing cooperation between our industry, the government, the public sector, and the academia. It's a successful triple helix model, emphasizing collaboration in fostering innovation and economic growth. You can learn more about this in the Business Sweden's pavilion here at the exhibition later. I will be there and inaugurate that pavilion in just a couple of minutes, so please welcome. I also highly recommend to visit RISE and to dig deeper into what Malin mentioned about the seal. I visited one of the sites, truly impressive and highly important steps they're taking there. We're talking about stepping up. Dear friends, I'm confident you will have a good taste of Swedish environment and Gothenburg environment here in Gothenburg. And you're truly at the right place, and it's an honor to welcome you to Sweden and the automotive cluster here at the West Coast. And thank you, Chris, in your inauguration here in the beginning of this session to highlight the collaborative spirit of Gothenburg, where industry, politics, and people working together hand in hand with shared responsibility. And thank you, Gothenburg, for hosting this event this year. We have the mayor in the room, so please help me give a hand to Gothenburg and the mayor for having us here. And for leading the way and showing that it's impossible, that it is the impossible that is possible. That was very important to say the right thing here. When I, as the Minister of Infrastructure, held the presidency in the European Union Council some years ago now, we gathered the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Energy outside Stockholm. Volvo were there, Scania were there. One of my colleagues went into a heavy vehicle, and after that, when he had test-driven it, he said something like this: "Andreas, this was a great prototype. Really good pilot. When can we get this into the market?" And of course it was my pleasure to say, this is really already in the market. I'm sure that the friends from Volvo and Scania can help you to buy this today. It is not a prototype. So what was in his mind impossible were already possible. So working together with the industry, with our Swedish highly innovative industry, and to put those examples into the table when policymakers are meeting is of course changing the environment when we discuss how to regulate, how to put incentives, how to promote the transition we need to see and need to scale up and speed up. Sweden has for all modes of transport a well-functioning, long-term, sustainable and reliable transport system which ensures our industry with long-term competitiveness, and our country and its industry are at the forefront of the green transition and committed to the transition in areas such as mobility, fossil-free energy industry and smart manufacturing. The Swedish government wants to be an offensive partner in the transition. The task of politics is to contribute with frameworks, conditions and incentives for the climate transition. Electrification is key in the climate transition of the transport system, especially road transport. We have taken a lot of measures. I will not bother you. I see the clock already also ticking here, so I will jump over some of them. But I think what Lars mentioned here before from Volvo Group, that you can have different flavors of decarbonization, but we still have the same high ambition and the high goals. And it's important to underline that and reiterate that here today. We have different schemes and positive developments in Sweden. For example, the private cars that we see now. Last year, about 1/3 of new passenger cars sold was battery electric cars, and together with plug-in hybrids, the share of chargeable cars made up to close to 60%. So we see a good development, but we of course need to see it in a broader sense, so we need to step up to accelerate the decarbonization. I would also like to stress that there are challenges in our transition towards electrification of the vehicle fleet. Recession, high interest rates have affected the growth in electrification, especially in Europe and also in Sweden. Geopolitical instability, such as war, political uncertainties, and can affect automotive industry through tariffs and changing the patterns. That's why we need, of course, take those measures into account. We need to rely on the experience that countries that continue to stimulate demand and expand charging infrastructure has showed continued growth in the electric car fleet. So we need to work on high ambitions and to speed up and to step up. To achieve extensive electrification of the transport sector, it must be possible to charge vehicles easily, reliably and safely. I'm proud to say that we have a well-functioning system in Sweden with charging infrastructure when it comes to passenger cars. We need to see a growing network also for heavy vehicle charging stations, not just in Sweden, but especially in Europe. And that's always something that I put to the table when I meet my ministers, the ministers of transport and the commissioner, that we need to give the good conditions and the right conditions to actually roll out the electrification of heavy vehicles in Europe. There's also something, of course, we need to work with the industry and academia, and you can count on Sweden to do that, to continue that. And I'm confident that you will do this over these 3 days here in Gothenburg. Because something that is inspiring, meeting entrepreneurs, innovators, is you're not stuck in the problems. You see solutions where others see problems. And that's why we need to cooperate and collaborate even more. Because when the problems arise, we need to bring the solutions to the table. And I think that's why you all are here. So to conclude, we need to speed up, step up, and make the change together. with the industry and the academia. That is why meeting like this is so important, bringing solutions to the table and put them into actions. Thank you very much, and welcome again to Sweden and to Gothenburg. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Time to recharge.
Right, charging,
Let's
very
charge.
important.
And this charging point, this lunch break, is sponsored by Greenflux. That's what I wanted to say as well.
Ah, even the charging, the coffee break is sponsored. Okay.
Yeah, so shall we leave them?
Yeah, fika time.
Fika time.
Enjoy your fika.